Well, just an update. My goading of Styzor last night worked. After a while, I thought he was trying to ditch out on it because he was online at the time. That's why I did it. And not that he was obligated, but then he was trying to get in. I can't get in. But after a wait, he found his way in there. It worked out. The main result was that he admitted I know everything, and him not so much. No, not really. He'll never admit that. But we were able to dig below the surface, really beyond the questions of who is correct and who is incorrect. We were able to discuss some things that didn't come out in the video. And this was one of the themes for me, is just how much, I make a conscious decision often to reply to people's videos. Not what I think might be behind that curtain, even if sometimes I know a little because I might have talked to them live, via stickam, for example. You have to react to what's there. It's kind of the empirical approach to this, where uh, you avoid unnecessary assumptions and react to what's said. Um, and we're able to dig beneath that, get a little bit of understanding. I think part of it is that Styzor, while skeptical, does not have a skeptical approach in his claims to knowledge, but then sometimes makes very assertive statements that really are skeptical, that we really don't know shit or whatever. And we were able to get into that and delve into some things like natural philosophy, in the sense in which he has a philosophy of science that he's talking about. We were also able to talk about some other subjects, some politics, WikiLeaks, the ethics of Sizer's idea of that an interesting experiment would be to take some life to Mars and let it go, see how it did, and is that ethically wrong if that planet is dead? What if we took it to another planet? Let's pretend that Venus is going to cool off and have a chance to form life. Would it be okay to take it to Venus and put life there before that life evolved, assuming it isn't there yet, because you know, there's some unrealistic aspects to this given the temperature and chemical situation on Venus. But would it be wrong to put life somewhere where it's going to devour life when it comes along on its own, assuming that's possible, which I think so. Um, and on the moon, it's an interesting issue to me because when we strip mine a beautiful mountain on Earth, we're killing so much life that really becomes the issue, and the idea of preserving natural beauty, unliving preservation of the unliving, uh, becomes it's a hidden question. If we strip mine the moon, is there something wrong with that? And would it be different if it's on the dark side or light side? Now, we didn't get into that question, but that's sort of the where that topic goes. But we talked about a lot of topics. We didn't delve that deep into that particular one. We discussed, as I said, some WikiLeaks. This was at least before I'd heard that Assange got arrested. We talked about Orwell. I recommended some cognitive science literature and a new kind of science as things he might be interested in. We found some agreement in terms of his, I'll call it rhetoric, not in the negative sense, but just to talk about the fact that it's language, that the ideas beneath it might have other ways of expressing them, but about chaos and logic. And the fact that the interesting thing about chaos theory, and for that matter, in a new kind of science, or Gödel's theorem, that what's amazing about those phenomena, these purely mathematical phenomena, is that if we discuss these phenomena, we can see that they're deterministic, right? There's very specific, if we've simulated at the very least a deterministic world, and yet we find out that chaos comes out of them. That even in a classical interpretation of how cause and effect works, that compounded complexity leads to a kind of indeterminism, or perhaps a better word is chaos. So it's very interesting. We talked a couple hours. I don't like to have Skype conversations. Well, I do with my family and stuff, but generally, people on YouTube, I like to keep it public, but often I've opened stickam rooms where it is just me and the other person. But we did end up having about, I don't know what it was, more than 5 probably not more than 10 people in there. And it was very interesting and very productive. And as I say, we found out that I'm totally right, and Styzer not so much. All right, cheers. Oh, did I mention we talked about Orwell? Yeah, we talked about Orwell. You know, Styzer likes the history of England and its influence intellectually on the world. So I throw him a little bone with my very favorite thinker ever, George Orwell. Oh, and if you're interested, what I recommended was, hold on, it's right here somewhere. I recommend all of Orwell's books, but what people often don't know, and I remember thinking he was a science fiction author because of Animal Farm in 1984. Really, Burmese Days and Down and Out in Paris and London, also two really great books, have absolutely nothing to do with science fiction. But a fairly recently released thing are Orwell's, I think it's called As I Please, yeah, articles in the Tribune. Very interesting stuff. The guy was a socialist. I never knew that. I've heard people claim quite the opposite. But he was a socialist. He just wasn't the kind of socialist that liked the Soviet Union or dictatorships or unfettered socialism. You know, it's more the kind of socialism that says, hey, if we make sure everybody can eat a good holiday dinner, our world will be a safer and better place. So he had compassion. He believed in social thinking, but not a socialist in the sense that we think of it almost pejoratively. And when I say we, I mean the rest of you. But still, he described himself that way. And the Tribune, at least at the time, this is the London Tribune, was an openly left-wing paper. So very interesting. He argues a lot against the kinds of socialists that were merely fronting for the Soviet Union and a dictatorship. But anyway, that is my report.